here's the encouragement I give you. The shortest distance between your child's heart, your grown child's heart, and Christ is you.
Parents need to own that they are the primary disciplers of their child.
Our goal in parenting is not for our kids ultimately to get a great education, as good as that is. Our goal is not for them to be great athletes. Our goal is not for them to go on great dates and find a great husband or a great wife. Our goal is not for them to have a great career with a great job, making great money. Our goal is for them to love a great God. A great God, a great God.
You're listening to the D6 Podcast. Here's your hosts, Ron Hunter and Jeremy Lee.
This is the podcast that helps you build an excellent family ministry in your church. I hope everybody's having a great week. I hope things are going well. Now, Ron, you're a baby boomer, right?
You know, I'm not a baby boomer.
Oh, sorry.
I'm the generation that a friend of mine always says is the most overlooked generation. I'm an Xer.
I think I'm an Xer. We're on each end of the Xer then?
I think so.
Me being the younger, by the way.
We always kid that the Xer's only like 3 years long, but I know they're really not. But nobody talks about the Xer generation.
Interesting. Sorry to make you a boomer when you're not. My bad.
That says a lot. I'm going to frown at you the rest of this episode, scowl at you. If only people could see what I'm doing.
He's glaring right now.
That's right.
But today's episode, I'm very excited about because we're going to this is like the Rubik's Cube for the church. They just can't figure this out, and this is the millennial generation.
Yes.
And we have kind of an expert on that today.
We do. David Jones. He's actually on staff at Randall House and D6 Family Ministries. He's one of our editors, and the dude is one of the biggest sports fans. If you want to have an intelligent sports conversation, have it with David Jones.
That's good to know because I like that.
He's fans of certain teams, but his knowledge goes deep, and it's more than just the surface level. And I think you're going to find that he also knows how to go deep and way beyond the surface level of many, many topics, one of them being the millennials that you dove into in this interview.
Yeah, I remember this interview. I remember just being wowed by him. I had no idea who he was, and kind of, when I don't know somebody, kind of the expectation level is low because you're like, I don't know what's about to happen. And then he just blew me away. Guys, you're going to love this. This is going to be one of those that whether you're working, no matter who you're working with, if you're working with preschoolers, well, the millennials are their parents a lot of times. And if you're, no matter who you're working with, you need to kind of think through this generation because they look at the world completely differently. So after we come back from the break, we're going to be talking with David Jones about how to minister to millennials. See you after the break.
What's it like to be a member of the D6 Leader Network? Well, what if I told you that you could hire an intern for your ministry that would plan your sermon series each month and create amazing graphics to help promote it? What if that same intern helped you train your volunteers by writing an online teacher training every month that includes a fully produced video without you even having to touch it? What if that same intern created a fully designed parent resource that they can actually use to help them spiritually lead their family? What if that same intern was able to get you access to every main stage talk, breakout, or interview D6 has ever done at their D6 conference for your own training and development? That would be the best intern in the history of the world, right? Well, becoming a member of the brand new D6 Leader Network is like hiring an intern to do all of that and more for around $1 a day. We make your life easy. We make awesome easy. If you are a minister, you can go to d6leader.net to learn more.
I think one of the questions that the church is asking quite a lot right now is how do we reach young adults? And I've got some help for you. We are age-graded ministers that are listening to this, and today our guest is going to help us set young adults up. when they are younger, when they're children and teenagers, it helps set them up for that young adult stage. So I think there's a lot for us to learn today. My guest is the young adult editor at Randall House Publishing and D6, where he oversees the Brink magazine. That's the magazine that they publish for young adults. He's passionate about the millennial generation and seeing young adults in the church defy statistics and stereotypes. I like that. He holds a master's degree in organizational leadership from Trevecca Nazarene University. And as newlyweds, he and his wife Katie live in the city, Nashville, Tennessee. Go Titans!
I'm a Rams fan.
Ooh, interview over. This was good, everybody. See y'all later.
It's bad for both of us.
Okay. It is kind of true.
We will suffer together.
You got Jeff Fisher, so.
Yeah, that's not working out so well.
And we digress. Let's go to question number 1.
All right.
So in your bio, it said that you are passionate about seeing young adults defy stereotypes. So I think maybe one of the best places to start is, what are the stereotypes that young adults are facing, and how do you see them getting past them?
Well, the one I always hear, I hear lazy, and I hear entitled after that.
Yeah, entitled, I hear that one a lot.
And there's probably a little truth to that. I will say that's probably a little bit accurate. Recent studies have shown that 40% of males and 32% of females that are 18 to 31 are living at home with their parents. It's the highest share in modern history.
Wow.
So people look at that and go, yeah, okay, I can see the laziness coming out. And then we hear, okay, well, young adults want the same car their parents are driving right now. They want the same house right now without working the job. And I think there's a lot of factors that lead to that. Some of it is laziness and entitlement. I will throw that out there. I think each generation's dealt with that a little bit. But then you have high tuition costs, student loan debt's just crazy right now. And it's funny because you've got people that are living at home, living off their parents just because they want to and they don't want to get a job. You also have people that are living with their parents because they're working on their doctorate and they have to do that because school's so expensive. So there's a lot of different factors out there in the stereotypes that are going on. One of the ones I hear a lot too is I hear shallow. And you could say that about some of the culture. What's interesting, though, is studies are starting to show that if those that are inside the church, the young evangelicals that are active in the church, that are actually showing up on Sunday mornings, are quite different than the culture around them. And so that's where the stereotype kind of gets squashed a little bit. There's been some research done by Mark Regnerus recently that shows that the young adults in the church really aren't bowing down to the cultural norms going on in society. Those in the church have different views about sex. They have different views about Scripture and the Bible. And things really aren't as bad as the picture that we sometimes paint.
Man, way to go. Good. You brought some stats. You brought some, and that stuff is helpful to us to get our minds around this issue. So there's not a lot of really good resources out there for 20-something crowd in the churches. Not a lot of people are really going after that segment, but you guys are, and I'm really excited to hear about the Brink magazine. Tell us a little bit about it and really why churches might want to use this resource.
Yeah, and you're right. There aren't many resources out there. And I think part of the reason is there aren't many young adults in the churches. Numbers-wise, percentage-wise, that's a group they're fleeing the doors when they graduate high school. And so some churches say, well, they're not here. Let's not buy the resources. But there are those that are still in the church, and quite a few. And so the Brink was created to reach these young adults, the college students, the young adults, the young marrieds, the young parents. And what it is, it's published quarterly. It acts as a devotional magazine. If you get all 4 magazines over the course of the year, you have a devotion for every single day that meets your needs. I mean, we try to cater to where young adults are in life. The articles in the magazine, we try to hit the tough topics. There's topics that we're just not comfortable talking about in the church that we need to be talking about. And that could range anywhere from sexuality to, even stuff like finding a job, what it means to actually be a professional at your work, what culture's saying, what the Scripture's actually saying. So we try to really hit young adults where they are. We don't try to water it down with fluff, but we want it to be deep and theological. We want people to be able to get into the Word each day as they go through the magazine. And it works in conjunction with our small group curriculum, but it also exists on its own. We have plenty of people that just subscribe to it, and they use it just a normal magazine. And so I use it personally. I have a small group that I meet with, and we use it. And so I know I guess I'm the editor, but I'm also the user of the magazine as well. So
you're a fan.
Yeah. So I have to make it decent, or else I won't even use it myself, which would be terrible. So you got to use your own product. But I'm really excited about it. It's one of those things that my passion kind of fuels over into the magazine, and I hope it pours out, and I hope people can see that, because I mean, I love my generation. I'm in the millennial generation, and I really want to see us do great things in the church. So if we can offer a supplement or a resource to that just to help people with discipleship and growing in their faith, then we're happy to do that.
Yeah, and you're kind of holding the banner for the young adult ministry here at the D6 conference. In fact, you're leading the breakout. It's called The Millennial in Your Pew, Separating Fact from Fiction in the Young Adult World. So give us a snippet of that. You know, a lot of the folks listening don't have really much knowledge of the young adult world, especially in the church. And this is your world. You wake up and you think about it every day. So tell us about the seminar. What were you teaching there? Give us some nuggets we might could pull out of there.
Yeah, I mentioned Mark Regnerus' research earlier, which is just powerful research because it contradicts, I won't say contradicts, but it flies in the face of what's going on culturally worldwide or nationwide in the United States. It's showing that millennials really aren't bowing down to the culture. And then there's some exciting stuff that we talked about in the seminar from Tom Rainer, that he's released a lot of good research on worship and on family. And one of the things that Rainer talks about in his book, The Millennials, and he's written about on his blogs, is that young adults are not necessarily concerned about the style of music and worship, but they're concerned about rich, deep theological content. And that goes beyond music. That goes to the preaching in the church as well. There's a mentality sometimes in young adult ministry that falls into that seeker-sensitive mentality that failed in youth ministry about 15 years ago, where it's like, hey, let's bring everybody in and do a lot of fun and games, and we may talk about the Bible at the end for a quick 5-minute devotion. Well, it didn't work in youth ministry 15 years ago. I mean, students had fun, then they walked out the door. Sometimes we try that again in young adult ministry, and I think young adults are going, whoa, we've been here before, we've done this, it didn't work, it's not working. And so one of the things we talked about in the seminar is that young adults are craving this deep, rich theological truth. There was an article in The Atlantic about a year ago by Larry Taunton, and he talked to some college atheists. And he found out that these college atheists had actually, most of them had been in the church at one point. They had gone to churches where their message was vague. They preached things like social involvement, social justice, community involvement, but they didn't connect that to Jesus and the Bible and Scripture, and that they didn't answer the hard questions. And he said, so these college atheists who were once young evangelicals went into the church. They had these hard questions. They wanted to know about the crucifixion, the resurrection, apologetics, who is Jesus. They came with the hard questions, but they left with shallow answers. And so we talked about, we can't just water down the gospel message. We can't just make it, let's have fun time and hopefully people will stay and then be good parents later on. We've got to emphasize community. We've got to emphasize the truth of the gospel. There's really more to it than just fun and games or just even getting together. It's really about the gospel and the power of transformation.
Oh, man, that's perfect. What are some examples that you know of where churches are reaching the millennials? Do you have any success stories out there for us? And how are
definitely.
they doing it?
Yeah. I think we see this in large churches. We see this in small churches. One that comes to mind, Watermark Church in Dallas. They have a gathering on Tuesday nights with young adults. I think they have like 2,000 young adults that show up. It's really impressive. They're doing great things. Brentwood Baptist in the Nashville area has a program for young adults. So those are some big churches that are doing some great things. But I'm seeing it in small churches too, churches of 60 people that may have 5 young adults. And there's a big focus on discipleship in a lot of the churches that are doing it right. I think there's probably 4 components, I would say, that are really important for this. One of the components is authenticity. You can't go into this and just create some program. Discipleship is not just an activity or a program. It is really a way of life. And so I think young adults are looking for authenticity. They're looking for it in the music. They're looking for it in the preaching. They're looking for it in the teaching. They want to know that the people that they're building relationships with and the people that are leading them are authentic people. I guess one of the starting points is intentionality. A lot of churches talk about wanting to have a young adult ministry, but no one's really willing to step up and say, hey, I'm going to go at this 100%, and I'm really going to just go at it. Yeah. So sometimes we get half-hearted with our efforts. A lot of churches will have the college and careers ministry, and the intentions are good at times, but it's really just we need to have something just to have something. That group's there, okay, let's give them a Sunday school class or a life group, and that's the extent of it. So I think intentionality is big. Community would be a third point of this. Community is a staple of young adult world. People want to be together. They want to meet together, and we weren't meant to live alone. We see that with Adam and Eve. I mean, God gave Adam a helper and Eve. We're not meant to live life on our own. So community is such an important part. The problem is if churches aren't helping young adults develop true, authentic, godly community, they're going to go somewhere else to find community. Unfortunately, that may not be the church.
Yeah.
The other component, and I've mentioned this before already, it's the gospel. You cannot just give fluff. You need to have some deep theological truth. Now, young adults, they may be on different levels. If someone just came to Christ 2 weeks ago, you're not going to slam them over the head with a systematic theology book and say, learn this by tomorrow. But we need to be preaching the gospel that has the power to transform. Jesus told us in the Great Commission, go and make disciples. We need to be making disciples and then teaching them how to make disciples as well.
Beautiful. Great answer. In your opinion, what can children's ministers and youth ministers that are listening to this, what can they do now to help prepare a student for their 20s?
That's a really great question. I think one thing we need to do is we need to quit looking at those ministries as isolated ministries. We can't have, well, here's our children's ministry, and then once you get out of that, you go into the youth ministry, and then you go into the young adult ministry, and they're all operating as separate silos. I think that's dangerous when that happens. I think we need to be looking at it as a holistic approach. We need to create a strategic plan where even those that are working with young adults are already working with parents of kids to train them. One of the things that Tom Rainer mentioned in his worship, or mentioned in his book that discusses worship and faith, he said that if parents are fervent about their faith and they're serious about their faith, it is likely that their millennial child will take that faith and take it even a step further. He said the opposite has also been shown to be true, that if parents are just nominal Christians, then that child will be a nominal Christian, but take that nominal Christianity a step further than that, which eventually leads down that road to atheism or agnosticism or just that no affiliation whatsoever. Because of that, I think we need to be partnering with the children's ministers, the children's volunteers, the youth ministry, and start creating that strategic plan. How are we going to invest in parents right now and start training them to lead their kids? And also, what plan are we going to have for these kids to start them at a young age so that we're not just passing them off, but actually being a part of the discipleship process going on in their lives?
That's, again, great content, and I really, really appreciate it. The Brink magazine is what Mr. David here is in charge of, and we're going to just check this out. We're going to be like Vanna White. Wah, wah.
Turn over the letters.
Why I don't take hot as a compliment. You know, I don't either. Whenever somebody calls me hot, it is not a compliment.
You know, I've never had a problem with that because no one has directed it my way. So I have a face for radio, so I'm a little nervous about the video.
But, you know, guys, I'm glad that that this was slid across my desk on this interview because this is well done. It's good looking, and you guys can see. I mean, it is not amateur.
Our design team at Randall House is top notch. I mean, just got to give them so much credit.
You got old
incredible.
Dave Ramsey here.
Yeah.
I mean, so this is excellent.
Thank you.
Wow, way to go. And you were excellent today, and I thank you for
it.
giving us time. Hey, listen, if you want to follow David on Twitter, you can go to just at iPopEditor. And also, obviously, if you want to look up the Brink magazine, you can check it out and find it at randallhouse.com. Thank you so much for being with us, sir.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Are you looking for the right conference to attend this year? The D6 Conference is a family ministry conference designed for your entire ministry team. Come hear from over 30 speakers and network with churches that share your passion for reaching families. Family ministry isn't just another program. It's one of the most important things your church can do to make a difference in your city. At the D6 Conference, you'll be inspired and equipped to take your family ministry to the next level. To learn more about the D6 Conference, just go to d6conference.com.
You know, we're just two Gen Xers hanging out here in the studio.
Yeah, you didn't think I was a Gen Xer 20 minutes ago.
No, you are such a young little Gen Xer over there.
Stop trying to make up.
Well, it's funny I wish I could be here when I'm playing all this awesome bumper music. Ron just giggles every time. Every time I play one of these music, he's just over there giggling. I mean, we Gen Xers, we're into hip hop, right? It's the music of our generation.
Well, the last one you played, I laugh. It's my favorite. I don't even know if I should say this on the podcast, but every time you play that, I don't even know if you can give them a little taste here coming back into it, but I call it Asian bluegrass.
Oh.
I mean, it just sounds a little bit like bluegrass and a little bit like Asian. I just can't help but giggle when I hear that. It's hilarious to me.
Let's have a podcast dance party, everybody, wherever you are.
I never know what you're going to play over there, Jeremy.
All right. So the next lady we're going to hear from is a pretty cool lady. She is very connected in the world of children's ministry, Miss Melissa MacDonald.
Yeah, she is really risen to be one of the leading voices in children's ministry, and we're talking in this interview about the health of a church. And when we think about some of the challenges that our churches face, if we could define health, work on health, it would solve a lot of the other challenges, and we tend to try to solve things from a problem standpoint rather than a health standpoint. So we're going to dive into that.
All right, let's listen to Melissa MacDonald.
I'm sitting here with Melissa MacDonald, and she and I keep bumping each other everywhere we go. We were just at CPC together, we're at D6 together, now we're at Northwest MinCon together. It's incredible to see what's happening. I heard somebody describe you as boldly calling the church to be the church. You are a speaker, you're an author, you're a coach, you're a mentor. I want to know from you, Melissa, what is it that God has laid on your heart? What's the biggest message that He's laid on your heart that you're helping and mentoring and coaching other people over right now?
Well, it's a great question. Thanks for having me. I love bumping into you at places because you travel so much. It's fun to know somebody.
That's right. Always a friendly face somewhere that you can talk to.
Very helpful. You should probably buy me coffee sometime.
Certainly.
I'm just saying. So I am very passionate about the church. I love kids ministry, and that's my niche in a lot of ways. But it's March, and I've spent more time this year doing leadership training and soul care stuff than I have working just with kids for a number of reasons. I am really passionate about our churches being healthy. Doesn't matter, honestly, it doesn't matter if our kids ministry is healthy, if it goes into an unhealthy student ministry, into an unhealthy family ministry, or if the church as a whole is not doing well.
So let's camp out on that. What does the word health look like in church? Describe that.
Yeah, health to me is, hey, we're all on the same page. We're going here together. We're working together. We're desiring for something bigger. It's not fighting with each other. It's not having, a match. It goes, well, your ministry's bigger than mine, or it's better, and we're in this together. And to me, church health also understands that the church is the body of Christ no matter what age. And it's not at a certain age, then they get to be healthy. They are the church. So that is, when I think health, that's what I think. And that's something I'm really passionate about the church getting, because I talk to a lot of leaders who their ministries are strong, but they're failing otherwise, or they feel like it. And a lot of times that's not on them, it's on more of the structure and what's going on.
So when you help coach and mentor leaders, how do you help them identify what's not healthy in order to move into that leadership role?
Yeah, I think the key there is helping them to identify it on their own. A lot of them just want a quick fix, and I think the church is in trouble a lot of the time because they went for a quick fix. And they go, oh, that speaker said that, so I'm going to do that, or that speaker said that. And so it's raising up a generation of leaders that thinks for themselves and can look and go, this isn't working for us. It might be working for them over there, but it's not working for us. And so, I have questions we go through, like, if your church disappeared today, would the community even care? Would they notice? Right. So asking those kind of questions, but not actually helping them find the resolution to it. And so that's a lot of what I'm talking about right now, is helping our leaders to think for themselves. And it's always as a fellow author, it's always a risk, because you write a book and you don't want people to swallow it whole and go, that's what I need. And so really challenging in everything I write and say to equip our leaders to think for themselves and to seek God's heart in this. What does God have to say about this? Not just what is Church A doing and you want to be like them. So it's helping them look at it themselves. And sometimes it's tough conversations as well, and going, this is indicative of something else over here. And sometimes it's letting them feel uncomfortable for a while. And a coach doesn't like that, but a good coach goes, that's really helpful and really healthy.
It's part of the growth process,
it is.
that uncomfortable feeling, because it helps them identify where they are.
Yeah.
I think we've been lulled into comfort when we should be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
Totally.
Yeah.
I just spoke about that. Like,
Yeah.
nowhere in God's word does it say you're going to live a comfortable life.
That's right. That's
in this
right.
world, you will have trouble. Like, you'll be pressed but not crushed.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah, I think we attain for comfort, and God goes, no, it's in the uncomfortable. It's in your broken vessel that I use you the best. So, yeah.
So if they want to dive in a little bit deeper in something you've written,
Sure.
either a book or a blog or what would you suggest for the people listening to go and find out more about what we've been talking about here together?
My website, Melissa J. MacDonald, it's MAC.com, is your best bet. You can link my books on there as well. But that's kind of your go-to place. I'm blogging every month and just asking the tough questions, and boldly, I'm bold and kind of sometimes maybe cross the line, but sometimes you need a wake-up call, and so it's really helping people to think outside of themselves, and God's really blessing the uncomfortableness of that. So I'd love for people to check that out, and I'm always open to a dialogue. I'm always open to chatting and conversation and emails, so anything like that.
So Melissa MacDonald.
Yeah, Melissa J. J. MacDonald.
MacDonald.com.
Yes.
Go check it out, see her books,
Yeah.
and you'll also find where you can follow her on Twitter. Great insights. It's always good to share space with
Thank
you,
you.
Melissa.
You
Thank
too.
you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's kind of a rock star. I mean, that's one name that I know I can personally recommend if you need someone to do training for volunteers, or if you're having a training event in children's ministry. She's worth contacting.
Absolutely. Very likable individual, and she does a great job in her presentations.
Yeah, and she's just kind of come out of nowhere, hasn't she? I mean,
She has.
See, she's one of those overnight successes that's taken years. It seems like overnight, but she's been working hard at it and she's built a nice network of people that trust her over time. And now I start to see her all over the place. So
That's right.
Thank you, Melissa MacDonald, for participating and being a part of this podcast. And thanks to you guys for listening. That always means a lot. And, this is the part where I feel like we've given you guys a lot, and maybe you might be willing just for a second to let us talk about what D6 is doing. So, Ron, what's something that D6 is doing right now that you would love to just chat about?
D6 is constantly trying to dive in a little bit deeper. If we're talking about health, as Melissa has talked about, and David Jones, getting that depth that he discussed there, that he did not want the hypocrisy of parents. The problem we're having is we're having the second and third generation being raised up without a biblical worldview. To correct that biblical worldview is going to take time, and D6 is dedicated, especially in our curriculum components, to building that biblical worldview. So if you're using D6 second generation curriculum, every week has an emphasis on biblical worldview. We call them doorposts. Deuteronomy 6 says when a child or a person leaves the home, write these upon the doorposts. When we walk out of that house, the thought of a biblical principle should be on our minds as we enter into the world. When we come back at night, we're re-entering back into it. So for us, it's about shifting a mindset one generation at a time.
Yeah, and if you're new to the D6 curriculum, the tagline that I always remember to understand it is every age on the same page.
That's right. We use family-aligned curriculum. We don't put everybody in the same class. We believe in the value of that age graded, and we teach them the same biblical themes so those conversations can continue way beyond church.
And that is unique.
Yes.
I don't know of anybody that puts that together. So it's probably worth a look if you're into looking for curriculum at any age level. That's worth your time. Thanks for listening to us on that. I think hopefully it will eventually help you if you check it out. But thanks for being a part of the podcast. We'll see you next week. Who do we have next week, Ron?
We have Rob Reno and we have Brian
good.
Hausman, two great individuals. And again, you guys are great for sharing space with us, and we're honored. We want to continue to bring you great guests just like these.
If you're enjoying the podcast and you're on iTunes, please hit the subscribe button. Also, there's a place where you can leave a comments or feedback. We would appreciate it. We watch and look for that. And also, you can look at us on Twitter at D6Leader is where you can find us. I hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you next week.
You've been listening to the D6 Podcast. You can learn more about D6 at D6Family.com. And if you're a minister, we invite you to join the D6 Leader Network by going to D6Leader.net.